but I had this really interesting dream. I was actually talking. Eric was keeping me company online since I was kind of bedridden. We got to getting around doing the kind of like the new you thing together. Kind of for me, it's kind of I'm a little embarrassed doing it, but I understand the whole concept of it. But Eric's kind of been working on my comfort level with it, and this one night we did it together, and this was a very particularly vivid dream I had. I usually don't have them vivid like this. It kind of had some similarities to the previous one I had shared, where there was like that weird creature involved. But okay, I'll go ahead and start from here. So it kind of felt like I had woke up in just this kind of like back alley city kind of landscape. There was buildings all around me. I felt kind of confused and lost, mainly because there was trees everywhere as well. It was kind of like the city didn't look run down or anything, but more overgrown, I guess. Like plant life has started to take over. So the streets weren't clear and open like you would down like a normal city street without traffic. There's plants, bushes, trees, and shrubbery, and wildlife. A lot of wildlife. I could hear birds over the place chirping, flying around, crackling and crispiness, and the kind of like the fallen debris from the plants and brushes around me. Just wildlife about. I'm just kind of wandering my way through this. Trees weren't real thick, but occasionally I'd have to press my way past and through some bushes. But I was just kind of walking down what seemed like to me like one of the main streets down this city landscape. And when I say city, there were skyscrapers, buildings like 10 floors high, and some of them probably upwards of 30. I'm just kind of throwing a number out there because that's just what it kind of seemed like. As I'm going, I keep hearing this kind of crunching, falling behind me. There's noises all around because of wildlife. There's no other human presence, I should say. It was as if the city was abandoned, but not quite. I don't know if that makes any sense. But as I'm going down, usual feature, there's like this. What was weird this time? Usually I have like some sort of turtle with me in my dreams. I've really never understood that. Maybe it's like kind of a guardian or something, or I don't know. It's probably representative of something that I've quite have not caught on to. But this time there was no turtle anywhere. Sometimes I usually at least see like a sign or something within but none of that. It's just kind of like an overgrown wide wilderness city. As I'm walking down through it, I keep getting that presence that feels like it's following me is getting heavier and heavier, as if it's just approaching, or more than just approaching, almost as if it's kind of like choking, almost a heavy presence that's starting to engulf me the further as I go. But instead of me walking into it, I'm walking away from it, but it's getting closer from behind. And it's not just engulfing me, it's kind of engulfing everything around me. The wildlife starts slowly quiet down. Not really quiet down. It's kind of more of it's muffling. It's still there. It really hasn't changed in pitch and tone and loudness. It's just, I don't know if you've had the experience where it kind of feels like one of the first stages where you start getting lightheaded and dizzy, where you might pass out. The next stage is your kind of hearing starts getting a little muffled, right before you kind of get like sweaty palms and kind of like cold palmed, or whatever that is. Everything's kind of started getting muffled out. And I just heard this voice that said, "Come." I just kind of stop, look around, considering everything around me was muffled, but the voice that told me to come was not muffled. In fact, it was like unusually clear. Like, say, like life in general is like 1080p definition. This was like 8K resolution type voice. I don't know. It was weird. Which kind of paused me in where I was standing. So I'm just kind of looking around, trying to figure out where this is happening or where this is coming from. That kind of oppressing, engulfing sensation that was coming from behind me is now all around me, but it's no longer feeling imposing. It's more feeling comforting, as if by stopping and taking a moment to look around me and observe. Almost as if, kind of like most people are stuck looking at their phones all the time. A lot of people I see, just when they're walking down the sidewalk, their face is glued to their phone. They're looking there. They're not even looking where they're going. It was almost as if it was like kind of a congratulations or good job. you stop tunnel visioning forward and you've taken a moment to observe. But it was a voice that snapped me into that type of mindset. And I heard it again. Come. This was to my, it really wasn't to my right, but it was kind of not quite backwards, not quite to, it was kind of right, but slightly reversed. Kind of in this alleyway area. So I, without thinking, just kind of turned and approached this alleyway. It wasn't really small. It was about the width of like your normal 2-lane road here in the US. The walls of these buildings they're probably like the buildings on either side are probably about 20 stories or so. The vegetation starts getting heavier, but it's only around the edge. The center, kind of this road pathway, is perfectly clear. It wasn't asphalt. I'm pretty sure it was just concrete. But it was like pristine, like untouched or somehow preserved perfectly. And the further down I go, the thicker the plant life in general starts developing on either side. The path doesn't ever get any smaller. It's almost as if life in general is becoming richer and stronger. To me, it was a good sensation. It just felt right going down this direction. Really no logic to it. It was just like a feeling. The further I go down, I start feeling a little kind of swaying, almost as if you've been on a boat too long and you go back onto solid land, it just kind of feels like everything's kind of rocking and swaying and moving on you. And I felt almost as if I was going to fall down, but right as I felt like I was going to fall, I was caught. Caught in from behind as I was starting to fall backwards, and I was pushed back up in a forward motion. For some reason, I wasn't looking behind me. I was more kind of fixated looking forward. But I was catching shadows from the light kind of coming in from behind me, and some reflections off of some of the more pristine kind of like metal work. Maybe one of them was like a mailbox, but I know there were some light poles that weren't on, but they were reflective. I seen that creature again that was in the previous dream I had mentioned. It looked like it kind of looked like a tiger, but it wasn't. Kind of like had a canine dragon type face, but it was the thing that caught me from falling back and helped me kept on my feet. And I had this yearning, or that it was kind of its yearning to move forward, to keep going. After being distracted by the reflections and the shadows from the creature behind me, I start moving forward again, and it's pacing behind me. The kind of negative engulfing that I felt before is no longer there. It's just melted away. I feel safe and secure. And up ahead of me is an old man. It kind of looked like the one I had seen on a catwalk some time ago, but different. It just looked like an old man. I don't think it was the same one I had seen before. It's just sitting there on what are those chairs called? I don't think you really see them much anymore. But there's this. My parents used to have. Well, my mom used to have this fold-out chair that would. It was kind of the reclining one that you would kind of lay down on and sunbathe, but you could fold it up kind of like flat. It was like a trifold thing. But he was just reclining there. Sunlight's kind of like just shining through, sunbeams specifically on right where they're at, and they were just kind of like it almost looked like they were just sunbathing, just enjoying themselves. And I was being beckoned forward towards this old man. At this point, I'm not sure if he knew I was there or not. I mean, I don't see how he wouldn't. I was being clumsy and loud, mainly because I was dizzy for a bit and about fell. And I wanted to walk forward, but I couldn't. I felt kind of locked in place. And then the next thing I know, I feel two clawed hands just kind of gently press, kind of like right on both of my shoulder blades, and as if they're gently trying to push me forward, as in kind of go. I still don't feel like I'm in any danger. In fact, I feel more relaxed at this point. My body's resisting for some reason. I want to go forward. The creature behind me wants to go forward, but my body just does not want to move. Next thing I realize, the creature is starting to press more firmly behind me, not aggressively, just firmly. And then it kind of felt like it was kind of its hands went in. Like, I don't know, it was weird. Next thing I know, I feel this whole like form just kind of sink into my back, and my locked body just suddenly becomes unlocked. As in, I have full control of my body at this point, and my body's starting to respond again to what I want it to do. And by this point, that creature behind me is gone. It's almost as if it just kind of like sank into me. I don't really feel different, other than the fact that my body's wanting to move again to my own will. And I just start slowly walking forward, waiting for my body to lock up again. But instead, it's the opposite. I'm feeling more energetic. It's responding to my will. I just want to keep walking. And my strides feel a little bit longer than what they were before, which at the time, I didn't really realize it. When I realized it after the fact, after I had woke up and wrote the dream down. But I began walking again, getting closer to the old man. The old man notices me very quickly after this point and jumps to his feet real fast. And at this point, now that I'm getting closer and he's now standing instead of kind of reclined back and kind of like a bright sun ray, it's just this, it's not the same old man. His hair isn't white like the previous one I've seen. It's kind of more of a darker color. He had a very similar beard though, but instead of all grayed out, it was all kind of like brownish, dark brown or something like that. I don't think it was black, but it's kind of hard to recall that detail. Kind of jumps up almost as if he was surprised to see me getting closer, almost as if he was the one who willed me to kind of freeze in place. But after he realized that I was walking calmly, and after the initial startle, he kind of calmed down, relaxed, and his arms was kind of up in like a kind of a defensive stance. He just stood straight up, arms kind of relaxed down to the side. It is like, okay, the kind of false alarm type situation. And I approach him, and I don't know where it came from, but he kind of just reached down into the air, kind of come down to the side, but not really touching him, and just pulls this mirror out. He holds the mirror up to me, and my eyes again are the same as the creature from the previous time I had seen, and I'm pretty sure the one that was behind me is the same one from before. I didn't see it, I just sensed it. But the eyes, definitely that I'm seeing in my eyes, is the same ones from before. Whatever this, it looked like a hybrid of like a canine. It was like a canine with like dragon stripes, but like think of like one of those fuzzy dragons. I can't remember what they're called. From I used to play a game called Dungeons and Dragons long time ago. I can't remember what they're called, but it was like my height. But it was like a canine dragon thingy. He just kind of held the mirror up, and I kind of seen this aura around me that represented like fur, but with like tiger stripes in it. But obviously it wasn't a tiger, it was something else. He had lowered the mirror down. Then the mirror just kind of disappeared from both of his hands. He raised it up and kind of like reached out to my face. But instead of touching my face, he's touching something else that I don't see or really know is there. Like, he's not reaching for me, he's reaching for whatever allowed me to move forward to him. And not aggressively, he just kind of gently caresses where I think its cheek would be. Kind of, it was, I don't know if you've ever taken an animal in your palms, it's like its head gently, if it's kind of being like lazy or lovey or something like that, kind of holding the face like that and just kind of rubbing the cheek. I don't feel it, but I see it. And I feel this sensation as if the creature is responding to it positively, almost as if the old man with the dark hair and dark beard's kind of rewarding it for I guess releasing me from whatever was holding me back and allowing me to move forward. And that's about where the dream ended. From that point, I had woke up and wrote it down immediately. I mean, I was still kind of in a borderline kind of feverish state because I had been sick for several days prior, pretty bad actually. So I was a little bit sleep deprived, but it was extremely vivid. I don't think I've had a vivid dream like that in probably, oh gosh, probably like 13 years, a long time.